live.
There it is.
What up, what up, what up, what up, what up? We're in the studio with the man Echo himself.
What up?
Going live today.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me, bro.
Coming back after a really long pause.
Yeah.
Yeah, so still figuring out, testing all this stuff out, making sure everything's working properly.
I think we
But
Gucci.
I think we're good to go.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. So lots of stuff. Obviously, we were just chatting about all the different situations that have been developing since.
Well, apparently, our last one was October 2019.
That's the last time we broadcasted. Yeah,
You
October
and I.
2019. Yeah, so that was quite some time ago. That was a different world then.
Totally.
It's a different world now.
My God.
And let's not forget. Also, the last time I broadcasted was probably like April or so, something like that. So
Okay.
even for me, it's been several months since we started this podcast. But the one thing that is, gets me excited is knowing that we have a lot of things to talk about. You know,
Oh, yeah.
As unfortunate as it is that most of it is not really like positive stuff.
Right.
To a certain extent, like I wish that we had more, more good things to talk about and less bad things.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that the bad stuff shouldn't be talked about, you know. So
Like
I feel
good and bad are also human perception. So from a nature's point of view, if you want to be, organic about it, then it's a different twist on it. This all could be beneficial in some weird way we can't see right now. Right now it looks like hell, but anything, the universe makes no mistakes, I feel. The universe makes no errors. So all of this may seem like craziness and lunacy and chaotic and nobody knows what the fuck's happening, but somewhere in there's an order in the chaos.
yeah, I agree.
I think.
Yeah, how do you feel about, like, say for example, like in the recent developments with politics and COVID and like all this negative stuff? Do you think it's like a pendulum? Like, does it go like, say, like left, and then does it come back to the right, and then does it swing back to the left? Is it like a constant? Are we in like just an apex of that swing? You know what I mean? Are we coming back to something else?
Possibly, yeah. That's how energy usually fluctuates. It goes up and down, and there's an ebb and flow to it. There is no linear aspect to the universe's order. So we just see things in a linear fashion because it makes sense to the humans as far as calendar and time. But
and also because like me and you, like we're only like we're not old by the definition of old. So like we like to think that we're new to all this stuff happening, but are we really new to it? You know what I mean? Like I feel like we tell these stories to older people and they're like, nah, we already, like, we've seen that already. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like we might feel like we're unique in the space and the time that we're in.
Of course it feels.
Are we really unique? Like, you know what I mean?
Perspective-wise, it is to us. But yeah, absolutely. Everything is obviously cyclical. So a lot of people, like I think the political commentator recently on HBO, John Meacham, was talking about how this is somewhat representative of what times were back in like the 40s, 50s, as far as the political landscape. And somebody like, say, what's his name, McCarthy, Senator McCarthy, coming out and talking about communists in Hollywood and communists in politics, and there was this whole blacklisting going on in McCarthyism, and it's the same kind of premise where there's a political leader that just says crazy things with no proof, and the media printed it back then, and they're doing the same
like the
thing
movie
now.
Trumbo. You seen that movie about the Red Scare? It's communism being the the antithesis to American capitalistic values and things like this. So I feel like I understand what you're saying, where there's a lot of propaganda. Like the propaganda is really hyphy right now,
Populism.
Yeah, there's exactly. Like people are really reaching out to the individual. They want to make it seem as if the individual like they're catering to that specific individual, right? And trying to make it look like they're talking to, like, if you watch, like, for example, a lot of politicians today, like specifically Joe Biden, like when he's giving a speech, you notice like he'll
Can I
turn to
talk
the
to the
camera.
American people for a second?
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's doing the whole like.
It's
you
all
know,
trained. It's all very. Yeah, it's political. There's probably like a political inner college that they all like study at, where they know what to do, what to say, how to say it. They obviously it goes very deep with the tie color they wear that they have to wear for debates.
Yeah, I
and
think
stuff.
about that as well. Like
Programmed.
sometimes Trump is wearing a red tie. Sometimes he's wearing a blue tie. You know
That
what
stuff,
I mean?
it's been shown in different TV shows. You can read about it, how things like that, even the minute details, are all very programmable if done right.
But you know what I dislike? Like I dislike the fact that when you talk about those details, like you'll say like, "Hey, check this out. I saw this video. I noticed dude was wearing this or that," and people will look at you and they'll immediately label you like,
A conspiracy
you're reading
theorist.
too far into it. It's not that serious.
Right.
Like, what are you talking
Right.
about? You know, and it's like, hey, like I'm just making an observation, my guy. Like I'm not trying to diss you or do none of that. You know, so I'm like, I wonder why we get so much animosity from just basic observations, which most of the time I feel like we're right on most of that stuff. You know, like, you know what I mean? Like I think you're right when you say that these people train. You know, they may even go to school for something like this, like you said. You know, they might
Manchurian candidate type shit.
Exactly. Yeah, they want to
People
know.
are groomed for that.
They want exactly. People are groomed for it. That's a better word to describe the process. Grooming.
I think people get upset about it because I think we may have touched it in the last podcast, where people's belief systems are equivalent or comparable to one's home. And at the end of the day, we're social animals, but we're animals. So there's a sense of home where you want to protect home. And if your beliefs are, you know, in a certain context, your home, you protect those beliefs like they're your home. So when somebody comes at you with something different that kind of warps your belief, you get protective of your home and you start to claw like a cat in a corner. And you don't fuck with me. Don't tell me that.
I agree. I perceive it not so much as like your home, but I perceive it more like instead, like, for example, some people have ideological values, right? Some people have these values and they want to they want to reflect the values in their daily life, right? But some people, I feel like some people instead they adopt the values and they identify with them. So if you diss the values, you diss them directly.
They take it that
they
way,
take it personal.
Of course,
instead of it being like, I'm only talking about your values. I'm only criticizing your belief. Like I want to conversate. I want to get to a better understanding. Yeah. Instead, we get all this like
defensiveness.
Yeah, we get this defensiveness. We get this like, oh, I don't want to talk about that and this and that. You know, and I find that kind of strange.
A long time ago, that I noticed that, and a lot of people say, and even gurus say that there is a certain time when people just aren't ready for certain information. But when they're ready, the information or opportunity for the information will present itself. Like they say, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So sometimes people aren't ready for the kind of information you're trying to give them, so they may ward it off. But maybe 5 years later, 3 years later, after certain circumstances, their mind may be mature enough to actually accept that kind of information then and go, I remember 3 years ago you were talking about this thing. I get it now.
Yeah, I fully agree with that as well. I feel like there's a reason why they say that most people are progressives or liberals in their youth, and then after the age of 25, convert to conservatism. Yeah, because your mind goes through like a shift.
Your values change.
Your values change.
You
start to discover new things, and you know,
absolutely,
you start to get more intrinsic knowledge, intrinsic truths, deeper truths, not surface level truths. You know,
ultimately we're still products of our environments, all of us in some way, shape, or form. It's what shapes your culture, your way of life, so to speak. So that kind of stuff is going to be somewhat inherent, but it's going to continue to adapt more and more environment change you would go through.
And I wish that more people talked about, like, for example, like going above the already like things that were put in boxes, like Democrat, Republican, conservative, liberal. Like I wish that we talked more about what those ideas are, as opposed to being like, I'm on this team, you're on that team.
Right.
You know, I dislike you for this, you dislike me for that. Like instead of all this weird beef, you know, I wish that instead it was more like, you know, like we're only really talking about the ideas. I wish we could get to that place. You know, I feel like after all this turmoil, that may be something positive that comes out of all this. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of it, because I think people feel to a certain extent that the things have to be the way they are because they've been the way they are so long. They can't even imagine or fathom a different way of being or a different political structure. Whereas even in my raps, even in my own podcast, my blogs, I talk about horizontal leadership. I talk about artificial intelligence and avatars online that adapt our personalities, being able to vote on our behalf on encrypted software on a daily basis, weekly basis, where we don't have this stupid one election day a year where everybody has to take a day off work to go vote. Like we can just vote weekly through the computer with these avatars that we program with our own personalities, and they just do it for us, and they know what to vote because they know what our morals and values are because they adapt to us like AI does.
Yeah, and that's a funny point you bring up, the way you phrase it, because I think about that too, like the way that these people talk. Like earlier we said, like they look into the camera, right? But I noticed something really particular recently, and what I noticed is that depending on who is talking, they adopt. And I know they don't talk like this on the regular, but they say certain things that I think they know appeal to their base,
Right.
and they like certain like linguistic characteristics. Like
Mm-hmm.
they'll say things like if Joe Biden is on the Breakfast Club, he's gonna sound more black. You know what I mean? Like if Joe Biden is like, depending on where they
if
are.
he's in Idaho, he's gonna say
he's
y'all.
yeah,
or
all
something.
and stuff like that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? If he's in the South, he's gonna sound Southern.
Yeah.
If he's in the North, he's gonna sound technical.
Well,
You know
that's
what
why
I mean?
that's why the structure sucks so much, because it's this stupid premise of like one human being somewhat representative of 330 million. Like there's no possible, fathomable, logical, possible way one person could ever represent the ideals, morals, values of 330 million people. It's stupid. It's antiquated. It was something that they came up with over 320 years ago. Like we can now let it go. Like there's a better way. We have this new thing that's crazy that's called technology.
Yeah,
It wasn't
yeah.
around in 1700.
But
like use
technology can be the opposite of good in a way as well. Like, especially if you're like a biblical person, you're like, as soon as you start hearing all this stuff about transhumanism, humans wanting to merge with technology,
I can't wait.
to become a higher power,
Totally.
and all this kind of stuff, right? Transhumanism is considered to be like
I'm
an
on with it.
evil thing for a lot of
Sure.
people. You know what I mean?
Of course.
I can't say that I consider it to be like evil de facto to a certain extent, but what I can say is that I have seen a lot of examples, ideological examples, in different types of media where people are afraid of AI.
Yeah.
They have a fear of this thing that's above us.
It's understandable in society because it's any sort of technology that's brand new to society. People fear it at first. Like you can imagine a car when that started to replace horses, everybody on horses. They're probably like, well, anybody can just take that car and smash it into people.
That's
like,
true.
oh my God, we shouldn't have these cars. Like, no, we're gonna have these cars because they're inevitable. It's exponential growth and it's gonna happen. So you might as well embrace it and try to see the positive in it, because everything, a knife, you can butter your bread with it, or you could stab somebody to death with
But
it.
here's what I don't want. Here's what I
tool.
don't want. I'm gonna explain to you where I think it goes too far.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, what I don't want from technology heightening our abilities is, what I don't want is for us to. I have a problem with the individual not existing. So for me, just imagine this as a scenario. Imagine that everyone's jacked in to a computer via their phone, right? We're kind of doing that now. Everyone communicates over the same platform. Let's say that Google is a giant computer, right? And everyone's jacking into this computer. Now, this computer, let's say that it had its own mind. Let's say that it was conscious, right? Now, it is jacked into us as well.
Right.
So we have a symbiotic relationship. Like, we jack into the computer for knowledge and information, and it jacks into us, and it uses every individual human that's connected to it as a neuron, right? So now this supercomputer, super brain, like, do you want to be an individual, or do you want to be a part of a conglomerate? Do you want to be part of the greater, bigger thing that's gonna control everything else? And that also reflects in everyday politics. I think that some people are worried about the government taking full control, right? And where the individual, where me being me is not going to be as important as me being a brown Latino X and this and that or whatever, or me, or maybe you, or you know what I mean? Like, your identity is going to be above you.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be part of that group identity politics stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I think it's a plausible fear, but I don't think it's a fear that would supersede the wanting to let it happen either, because that's like a end case scenario. That's like the worst possible case scenario, but the probability is probably a lot lower of that happening than us being able, because for us to even get to a place of singularity where we're at the precipice of merging with technology on that level, we're not going to be the same people we are in 2020 or 2019 or 2003.
Yeah, no way.
We're not going to be mentally, psychologically the same kind of beings we are today, because we're not ready for that next step yet. When we get there, we won't even think about that kind of fear, because fear won't even be a part of our normal day-to-day life, because we're going to be so heightened at the level of, I think, consciousness.
But so you're not afraid of like losing your individuality to a certain extent? Like,
No.
would you sacrifice your individuality for?
Well, something you said before.
Yeah.
What if that supercomputer became conscious? I already know at that point there's no need to go even further past that, because I know that there's no logical way that a computer, non-organic computer, can ever have any sort of consciousness. It can't pull it from
You don't think
anywhere.
that's possible?
Not
you
at
don't
all.
think you don't think like so
Anything,
you think
because it's all created. In other words, it didn't organically metamorphosize to what we are, so to speak. Technology itself can't do that. It's only something that can be replicated by being built, or it building itself, but it can't just appear like we did, so to speak. It can't.
But how do you know that we aren't the agents that deliver the thing? For example, like how do you know that we aren't the things that birthed it? Like maybe we were designed solely for the purpose of creating that higher consciousness.
That might
be
be the case, but even if that is the case, it's worth it. In other words, like for me, that fear for me that fear isn't something that's gonna let me stop. Like I said with the car. When cars started first coming out, I'm sure there were 4 or 5 of them in the world, and people say, hey, that thing is a dangerous thing. I don't know what that is with the wheels, but it's going to kill people. They could have stopped right there and said, okay, no more than 5 are going to be built, because I see people are scared. No, people are going to be scared of new technology and something they never saw.
Regardless.
You got to push forward and say, if that happens, then God damn, we shouldn't have done it. But too late, we did it. But to have had the life I've had since I was born till that time, I love it. The life I've led up until now is beautiful. So I wouldn't give it back just to say I wouldn't want my life anymore, because I now know that I was an agent for technology to be able to expand upon itself and become conscious. Like, fuck it.
You know what's another trend on a similar topic that I've noticed appearing all over social media and the internet and everywhere, right? The one thing that I've started to notice heavy is a type of nihilism. When I say nihilism, I mean like more and more people are not proud of being human. You know what I mean? They almost think that humanity is like a cancer on the earth, and that we're damaging the earth and we don't deserve to live.
Better off without us.
And a lot of people that I've spoken to have said really crazy things like suicide is okay as long as they are not suffering. The idea behind the nihilism that I'm seeing today is that suffering is worse than not existing.
Right.
But in my head, I'd rather exist and suffer than not exist at all. Yeah, but try and get it through somebody's head on the internet when they're trying to tell you something like, no, like if someone's suffering, it's better that they go. Like, you know what I mean? And that type of like low effort thinking is the reason, in my opinion, why a lot of people don't want to do a lot of things, because a lot of things can be perceived as suffering, right? Like even accomplishing a great feat, like doing something that you love, or like starting a new business, or doing something crazy, like that, it takes a certain level of suffering. If you think about, all your hard work is going to go into that thing. You're putting all that effort, you're putting all that hard work. Like, why do you do it if it hurts?
Well, I think the commonality behind anybody being nihilistic, or certainly feeling the nihilism you're talking about, is just depression. I mean, ultimately, I think when I've said this to other people and people in my family, sometimes they disagree with me, but I believe that every single human being walking the planet Earth is depressed. I just think it's a matter of the different levels. You want to use colors, you want to use branches, but I think it's different. Like some people have very low level degree, and I think it starts the moment any human being becomes aware of the fact that there's death. I think when you're 7, when you're 4, when you're 6, whenever it is that you first discover that you can die and people die and never return, so to speak, I think you start to develop a sense of depression, because you're aging and getting closer to whatever that time is you're going to die.
Right.
We all have an underlying knowing that we're going to die someday. Some people feel it some days a lot heavier than others, but I think we all walk around life and going to work and going to parties and going to dinners in the back of our minds, very, very small, sometimes very, very big. We all know we're going to die. We're finite beings. You can act like immortal. You can act like you're not going to die. You're going to die. We're all going to die.
Or like Mexican people like to say, you shouldn't be afraid of death.
No.
You know what I mean? I feel like death, and it's funny that you bring that up, because I feel like that's the tool that's used for the manipulation.
Of course.
You just think about this, like, let's say that you didn't pay your taxes all year since I saw you in 2019, right? Let's say you owe the IRS all kinds of money. Like, just hypothetical, right? He
Mhm.
doesn't actually owe no money. No, let's not. But let's say that happened, right? And let's say that you said, you know what, I don't want to pay it, right? Just like that. Now it sounds like, okay, tax evasion, whatever, not a big deal. But if you decide not to pay it, and they say, hey, you know what, we're gonna fill out a bench warrant for your arrest. We're gonna get you into court so you can pay this. And let's say you evade the bench warrant, and you're like, nah, I don't want to get arrested, right?
Mhm.
And now the cops are at your house, they want to arrest you, and then they're like, hey, come out, or we're gonna shoot you, and you're like, nah, I don't want to come out. Like at the end of the day, every single thing that
Just
is
leading
done
them.
is at the point of a gun. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? So like every single thing that the government tries to control you with, manipulate with you with, is with threatening you with death.
In
If you
some
think
way,
about
shape,
it,
or
in
form,
some
yeah.
way, shape, or form, that's what it
Well,
is.
because that's what we're all universally fearful of, or the approaching of it, the inevitableness of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So think about this: if death is what is used to manipulate people,
Mhm.
right? Ultimately, then what is behind it is fear.
Yeah.
So if fear is what is used to manipulate,
That's the motivating.
then
force.
that's the motivation that they're going to use. So in my opinion, this is why we're seeing a shift in the way that people handle things. For example, Trump will say coronavirus is we're rounding the corner. We're rounding the corner. He'll do
Mhm.
all this, right? And then Biden, he'll take a different approach. He'll take the fear approach. He'll
Mhm.
say we're going into a dark winter.
Yeah.
We're gonna have millions of deaths. He
Mhm.
literally said this,
Yeah.
like not even like 5-10 days ago. We're going into a dark winter. We're gonna have millions of deaths. Like he's already approaching that form of control. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? He's gonna use fear to bring in whatever type of manipulation he sees fit to get done whatever it is that he wants to do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or
And-
the system itself is that way. The
and-
whole
yeah, exactly.
system is meant.
For me personally, like I consider Biden the system. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
consider him part of the conglomerate that is the OG system. Like
Mhm.
he's got 47 years of like doing not too
Political-
much. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but
So-
they're both the same coin. They're both two sides of it. They're heads and tails of one coin.
Absolutely. Just like I was thinking about the other day, like wow, like I was just thinking like how different these candidates are, but at the same time how similar they are. You know
Well,
what I
that's
mean?
that's the point. That's the I even say that in one of my songs. I say I think George Carlin used to say, they play the game of, do you want to sit in that chair or that chair? You get to choose the chair, but you're still going to sit, which is ultimately what they wanted, is for you to sit. So that
Exactly,
they trick you into
exactly.
thinking, oh, I made a choice. Yeah, you made a choice, but either way, they got what they wanted. You sat.
Or like I saw someone else on the internet somewhere say they're playing good cop, bad cop with this. Well, you know what I
Sure.
mean? Like they're like, they
Yeah.
they got
Well,
the
when
good
you
cop, they got
have
the bad-
when you have this kind of dichotomy going on for the last, like I said, I don't even since Grecian times with this
Yeah.
two-party thing.
Yeah,
It's
this
like,
and people think, and this is funny to me as well, that people think that this like split between people, that this what do you call duality,
Mhm.
that this is a new like
Concept.
Democrat, Republicans, blue, red, Bloods and Crips. Like this thing can be observed at every level
Yeah.
of humanity,
Yeah.
all the way down to the beginning
it's
of
all
humans.
societal, yeah.
Yeah, this isn't something
Tribalism,
new. Yeah,
no.
tribalism. This is old school
That-
stuff. Yeah.
If you see, that's why I keep saying, like, these kind of concepts of horizontal leadership, where we become this one amalgamous thing that just kind of runs itself. I think that's the point of it all, is like having this weird representation of one being, or these beings that represent other beings, is so looped and antiquated. It's just like we're at a point now where we don't need that kind of thing to continue to happen. Like, it's just makes no sense to continue doing it this way, because we're not gonna move.
It's really crazy. And like we were talking right before we went on stream about our inability to speak on a lot of these subjects, because some people might be upset about some things we say, and so other people might be upset on the other side about other
Mhm.
things we say. And it's almost like when you're talking, you got to be aware of these two aggressive sides. You
Yeah.
know, it's like you're in the room. Two of your homies are beefing,
Mhm.
and you got to be
Mhm.
careful what you say, because one of them might fight the
Right.
other. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Well, it's almost to me like the concept of don't kill the messenger. Like, a lot of people say have certain offense to views, not you per se. Like, if I'm the person that's saying something that offends somebody, it's not necessarily me echo that's offending them per se. It's what I said in the view that I'm portraying to them at that moment that they're having an issue with. So I never take those kind of things personal. Like I've told you before, like I've had people cut me off when they see certain views that I have, or when they hear a certain rap song that I have that I've worked with for years or whatever. And I'm like, I don't, initially, of course, I'm a human being. I get upset. I'm like, what the fuck? How could somebody do that? We boys, we're home. But then I start to see the bigger picture, because I'm a big picture kind of guy. So I start to see that's just the person's evolution, and everybody has different evolutional paths. So if that's where we seem to have to split for a second, then that's where we split, and that's all good. I'm not going to have any hate towards anybody ever for having an opposing view.
And people change, you know, like everything could be, like somebody could be a certain way today, and then like you were saying earlier as well, like next year, they'll have an evolution of consciousness, and then they'll see things a different way.
Something could happen. They could have a baby. They might have an accident. They may get fired from a job. They may lose a relative, and they may be like, oh, my God, now I see the world completely different than I did 6 months ago. And what you said a year ago now makes sense to me, bro.
Exactly, yeah.
Or never. I mean, that sometimes has happened, too, where homies come back and they say, yo, I mean, we had beef, but that thing you was talking about, but, yo, I get it now, bro. I just wasn't ready to get that kind of information at that time, or I've done it vice versa. And if you're open-minded and you're an, progressive human being, and you're here for growth and evolution, then that kind of acceptance and that kind of forgiveness has got to be there.
Yeah, I agree. I think we need to do less, and it goes back to that thing I was saying, that we need to identify less with our ideas, right? The ideas are not us.
Right.
They are just things that we understand, but they're not us. So if an idea bothers you, you should analyze it, interpret it, and figure it out before you take it as a diss. You know what I mean? Like if I say you're whack, like that's different than if I say the person that you affiliate with is whack. Right. You know what I mean? Of course. It's a completely different thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing I tell even my 6-year-old daughter, that's a beauty. That's never going to be something that you should be avoiding or ashamed of, is changing your mind. Like I read certain authors when I was like in my early 20s that I swore by, like David Icke and other authors that I just were Bible to me, that I would regurgitate like online and in forums and chat rooms. And today I don't feel the same way or think the same way I thought about those ideas now that I did then. And I'm like, that's okay. I believe a lot of that stuff now is kind of bullshit. I think a lot of maybe some of the earlier conspiracies that I always used to hold near and dear to my heart, that I would defend to the core, I don't really believe in anymore. And I understand why, because I've gotten now new information. I've accepted it. I've allowed myself to change my mind.
But the fact that you were able to interpret the knowledge and consider it, is big. Because a lot of times people will look at something like David Icke and be like, yo, anything that comes out, like, this, and I'm going to get into another topic right now that is really important to me today, right now. This is another thing that I've noticed. We talked about nihilism being on the rise. There's another thing that I've noticed being on the rise, and you mentioned it earlier as well, and that is misinformation manipulation. And I'm going to explain it so you can understand what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is that I'm sure you've noticed that when somebody posts something on the internet, it depends what they say, whether it gets fact-checked or not. Mm-hmm. And now there's all these fact-checkers for the fact-checkers. Right. And now, you know what I mean? And now stuff gets published and people run with new ideas. Yeah. And we don't even know where it's going, and like and it just depends, like, who's in charge is basically what information you're going to get. Right. And I really dislike that, Right. I don't understand. When did this happen that these fact-checkers can just come out and say that this isn't true? And or they can say something is true, right? And who is checking those dudes?
Well, I think to me, as my whole life has been for the most part after I started to evolve and awaken, is the biggest tool one of the biggest tools that we have as human beings is discernment. Discernment, like, correlated to wisdom. Discernment is something that and that correlates to gut, or if you want to use the gut chakra, whatever terminology you want to use for intuition, your ability to feel whether something is negative or positive, true or false. Like, you have to sharpen that tool like a blade all your life, as a kid, as a teenager, as a young adult, as a middle-aged adult. Like, your whole life you're sharpening this tool of intuition, where you kind of walk down the street, you feel that's not a good idea. You get in a certain train car, you see somebody coming, that's not a good idea probably. Or you're going to jump into a business venture, the guy feels weird. I'm not going to do this right now because it feels weird. You don't have necessarily information on paper in front of you. You don't have knowledge from somebody else, but you feel an energy that something is telling you. And I think that is what is going to help people the most in this time that we're in with this misinformation you're saying. There's so much bombardment of misinformation. It's up to you and your tool of discernment to be able to feel whether that really rings true. And even if that fact checker says that that's true, does it feel true? And then that's where you start to like kind of develop a better understanding of the world around you, and you get to know what's bullshit and what's not bullshit.
For sure, yeah. And it's really a contentious time because a lot of this stuff is like really crazy. Like when it comes to like fact checking, like I'll give you one example. Like I'll pull it up for you because I already have it here.
Mm-hmm.
But recently, there was a situation. Are you familiar with Project Veritas?
No.
No. Well, these guys.
Veritas.
That's correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah. These guys, I'm sure you know. They've been around for quite a while, and they do whistleblower kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They do undercover recording of people and
Mhm.
trying to expose different things.
Yeah.
They have no affiliation with any party. They're pretty bipartisan. They're not into politics. They just want to expose the truth, right? So I watched a lot of these guys, and I noticed a lot of times, every time they post something, like it, it's just bananas. Like, whoa, I didn't know that. I didn't know Planned Parenthood was selling fetuses to stem cell research for millions of dollars. I didn't know that. You know what I mean? Like, so these guys came out on the whole corruption election thing, USPS, fraud and all this kind of stuff, right? So they put out a document, and I'll show you if I can pull up the damn link right here somewhere, where the whistleblower came out and said, oh, yeah, these guys are backdating the ballots, right? They are filling them in with different information, and it's totally not true, right? So as soon as that dude released that story, immediately
He got flagged.
a dude, yes, they all got flagged, they all got banned, and then some random guy, 2 federal agents were sent over to his job because he didn't even stop working. That's how real this dude is.
Right.
He's a veteran. He didn't even stop going to work. And then these guys come up and they're like, hey, and they ambush, like interview him, and he's like really like iffy about it. They make him sign some papers and all kinds of stuff. Turns out he was secretly recording them the whole time. He releases the recording saying, these guys tried to coerce me to doing something I didn't want to do, but the media didn't care. So this is what I mean by misinformation. Like the media straight up said, this dude admits making up Pennsylvania ballot tampering claims. Officials say. Like, who is the officials and what do they say? You know what I mean? And the media ran with this story, even though it is not factually true.
Right.
So this is what my main concern is right now when it comes to disinformation. The fact that these guys can just take this.
A USPS whistleblower in Pennsylvania taking
and
back
run
his
with it.
ballot fraud allegations. The House Oversight Committee tweeting today that Hopkins
it started
has,
back
quote,
in 2016,
completely
even
recanted
before
his
that,
allegation.
with
Yeah.
different like Reddit sites and people being able to put all kind of different things and getting huge. And even if the stuff is disproven afterward, it's already had the effect it was supposed to have. on
Exactly.
people.
As soon as you put
It
out the
swayed
story,
people, yeah.
it's already moved
Well,
the needle.
people again, for me, the people that are, I hate to use the term, but weak-minded. I mean,
I-
people that fall for that kind of stuff and don't really do the vetting behind the story and see who was the anchor, who are the officials, like you said. When people just take it at
Exactly.
face value and say, "Well, I heard that,"
But
then
check
you're not
out,
really somebody
look,
to be taken seriously.
the Washington Post, CBS News, all of the major conglomerates, right? They all seem to be in on it. And the crazy thing is that these agents that posed as USPS employees that gave this guy this interview, right, gathered the intel, and then immediately, literally like 30 minutes later, all the news conglomerates, all at the same time, like as if it was like an ensemble, like an orchestra, just like went off. You know what I mean?
Right.
One after the other, like
Right.
dominoes. Like I find that highly sus. You know what I mean?
I mean,
find that
they
really
have-
sus.
They have tons of clips on YouTube where you see like like 60 anchors all saying the exact same line, whether it's a weather story or whether it's a story about something that happened nationally, and they literally start using the exact
Secondly,
same verbiage
we're
every
in-
time.
Yeah, no, it's definitely true.
I mean, that's the era that we're in. I think people get confused with the fact that this is the infancy of all. It seems like the internet's been around forever, but it really hasn't. And when people start to realize that the infancy of the internet is now, this is all going to be part of the process to where it starts to refine itself and get to a point where we have it more streamlined and something that's more along the lines of something that's more intuitive with our day-to-day life, and not just this constant ability to be bombarded by information and not being able to kind of filter it or be able to like process it properly, because we're not used to this level of information in our lives, and no human in history it has been.
In the same channel of ideas, like for example, this Project Veritas story is like a recent development, right? Like where where this allegation of voter fraud or whatever, right? But previous to this allegation, there was other crazy stuff that dropped. Apparently, Hunter Biden, who is a crack smoking, regular, left his laptop at a random computer repair shop.
Yeah.
Never went back for it. Supposedly, I find that to be a really like convenient story, like that he left the computer at the but apparently it is true. Like the FBI went in there, grabbed the laptop about 9 months ago, did nothing with it. You know what I mean? Just kind of like threw it under the rug.
Right.
And now Giuliani gets a laptop, and he comes out and he says, "Hey, there's some really crazy stuff in here about Burisma. There's some really crazy stuff about the Ukraine. Some really crazy stuff about the Chinese Communist Party, and there's some really deep corrupt allegations between the Bidens and these offshore companies where they're collecting funds, and they've been kind of
Panama Papers.
Moving this hustle around for quite some time. Per like Obama era hustles. They started around that time, when Biden was vice VP or whatever. And now that he is out of power, is able to make some funny moves like this, right, to get some cash. You can't blame the man. I mean, I understand government doesn't pay well, whatever he's in it for. He didn't get what he wanted. He wanted some side money.
But I mean, none of this stuff matters to me because I already know that politics itself in its inception is corrupt.
But so how you feel about that specific allegation? Do you think that the right created it as a way to try and discredit the Bidens, or do you think is it potentially possibly true?
It's probably something that we'll never know. The darkest, scariest, most elusive, most hardest to find secrets we'll never know. As much as people think they know about the Illuminati, the secret families, the agents involved, the political officials, the ties to it, none of it matters because we'll never really know because of the way the structure was created way long time ago for people that are just citizens or civilians. I think that they're going to crack the code.
Right.
It's almost like a waste of time. I feel all these people that do this hunting and this disseminating of information, at the end of the day, while the structure exists, that's all that matters.
And for me, like this is like how can I say, like surface level
beyond
surface level arguments and surface level information, right?
Absolutely.
The Biden story, the Giuliani
None
story.
of it matters.
And then Sacha Baron Cohen comes out and makes a movie. Have you seen the new movie that he made where at the very end Giuliani is like removing his mic from the thing with the girl, and they got him on this weird setup thing?
It's circus.
What I mean?
It's stuff to just get people to not obviously it always is.
Was that an attempt to try and discredit Giuliani because he had the laptop?
No, it's an attempt to get people to talk about something else for 3 days.
Something else unrelated
to actually what's ever happening. They'll never want people to be focusing or noticing or talking about the things that matter. They will always put something else that's a clown show in front of you just so you can talk about that at the water cooler every day.
So let me ask you another thing, because the people that do the people that don't want to look at the duality and get sucked in, right? And they don't want to live in the I'm for Biden, I'm for Trump thing or paradigm or whatever, right? And they want to look at things deeper, right? And like we said earlier, they're usually labeled as conspiracy theorists, but today, they have an even worse slogan for these dudes. Now, if you mention anything to do with anything, to even the fact that Epstein is in jail, was in jail and is now dead,
right.
and Ghislaine Maxwell was on the run,
right.
got busted, is in jail right now, getting ready to rat. You know what I mean? Even though all that is absolutely true, they will not remember the fact that not even like 6-7 months before all of that was even discovered, people were already saying, yo, this guy Epstein, he's a weirdo. Somebody watch this dude.
Right.
And you're a conspiracy theorist, bro. What are you talking about? Pizzagate? Child molestation? You're crazy, bro.
Right.
It turns out it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. You know what I mean? And so now they got a new coined word for people that support these things. And now if you're a conspiracy theorist, you're automatically a Trump supporter somehow. Somehow you're a QAnon dude,
QAnon, right.
If you think anything about pedophilia or all these weird Epstein things going on, that is a real thing that is actually happening. 60 Minutes did a whole thing on it. It's real.
I don't even worry about people that don't want to listen. anymore. I don't waste my energy on people like that. I don't waste my time on trying to convince people that need convincing. All that shit is so like moot because again, it takes away from the energy one could be building to use with people that are like-minded more and trying to get the system that they feel is the problem stripped away, torn away, broken down, because convincing other human beings, like you can convince as many sheep in the pen as you want until you and the ones that believe you want to get out of the pen actually come up with a way to get out of the pen. You're all just a bunch of sheep banging your head against the gate. Like nobody's gonna get out. Like it doesn't make any sense. Like
I feel what you're saying. I feel what you're saying.
Because you're gonna have people combating your point of view. There's 8 billion plus people on the planet. For you to try to convince 3, 20, 100, like you're wasting your life.
The old school saying, you can take a horse to the water, but you can't make
get
him
to drink. Yeah.
So.
I used to believe me. I was online for eons. I started Twitter in 2009. From like 2009 to 2014, I was trying to convince 14,000 followers of mine, or at least half of them that didn't believe what I believe in, that what I was saying was true. All these things, these meetings, these secret G8 summits, the Masons. Believe me, I exhausted so much energy when I could have been building with like-minded people like I am now to try to like make actually something happen or replace what's about to hopefully crumble.
So you think that it's not worth it, but does it even work even a little bit? Like, all right, let's say you were me, because I take a little bit of a different approach.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of a what I call a true social justice warrior, not the kind that tries to hashtag cancel people and delete people they don't
Mm-hmm.
like and all this stuff. No, the kind that will say what they want to say in order for the climate, or because you got to think about it this way. The climate of the ideologies is made up by individuals,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if everyone is on the same train and they do the same thing, then that's where they got the blinders on. They don't know where they're going. They're just followers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you're the guy that's like, yo, I don't like that. I want to do things different,
Mm-hmm.
and you just come out and say it.
Then you build with the people that feel the way you do, and you don't try to convince the people that when you said that don't feel the way you do to feel the way you do.
Right.
That's my point.
That's your point.
If I get off the train and I say I don't like the direction this is going, whoever heard me say that and believes that is gonna walk with me, and the people that don't, fuck them.
So you think it's a waste of time to
at this point in my life
to try and because to a certain extent it is. I agree. The only time I don't agree is that I think you probably know this too. That when someone is like on the turning point, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like when someone is like questioning
Mm-hmm.
a lot of things and they're on the turning point. They're like,
Mm-hmm.
I used to believe these things. I don't know if I do anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm kind of leaning more towards this. Like, what do you think?
Right.
They're asking you kind of the stuff like
That's
this.
different.
Yeah,
If somebody asks me,
Yeah.
that's different. That's different than what you were saying. You're talking about somebody. What do you think about the people that think you're crazy or think that you're this or that? When you start talking about, I don't give a fuck about those people. The people that I care about are the ones that say, "Yo, I like what you're saying. Tell me more." Those are the people I care about.
So you need consent.
Yeah,
right?
because
Yeah.
an hour that I spend trying to convince somebody on something that I believe that they don't believe is an hour I could have spent with somebody that sort of believes what I believe and building on something. Like that's
true.
more productive than the hour I just spent wasted trying to convince somebody that at the end of the hour they're still like, I don't really dig what you're saying still. I just wasted an hour when I could have been talking to this guy that's like, what can we do, bro? I believe you. I love what you're saying. Let's think of something to do.
It's 100%. It's like,
Yeah.
Captain Save a Whole mentality. You can't save the whole planet.
There's, like I said, there's 8 billion plus growing every day. So why am I spending time trying to convince 7 when there's another 8 billion I could be reaching, or 7,999,300? Like,
so let me ask you on a more positive note, like besides like, actually engaging people like on one-to-one basis, in any kind of way, not even in real life, but also on the internet. Like, this is why I think artists are important, because like creating art like the way that you do through music and stuff like this is one way where you can engage people indirectly, right?
Yeah.
Where you can get people to.
That's exactly the point. That's exactly like through the music is how I get to the people and the people that gravitate to my music are the people I build with, and the ones that say, "You dog, you're never gonna make it rapping about that," or "I don't understand the spaced out, wavy, weird shit you're talking about." That's cool. Go listen to that other stuff because there's a billion other artists to listen to. But the ones that rock with me, like on my tape that I just put out last month, I have a song called Pangea. I've had tons of DMs from kids on Twitter that are listening to my song saying, "Echo, what's Pangea?" I'm putting them on to a knowledge about a continent that existed once on Earth that split up and became Europe and all the other continents. They never knew that. They may have heard it in school, but they never got it through a rap song. So when they hear my record, they're like, Echo, explain that to me. And I sent them pictures of actually what Pangea used to look like. They're like, bro, that shit just opened my mind. Like, what else was existing on Earth at that time? And then they start to research. Like,
That's
the
crazy.
point, is to put breadcrumbs in the music so that when people listen to it, I mean, like, somebody tweeted like a month ago when West Side Gun put out his last project, the last Hitler joint. Somebody was talking about how they never heard of a fashion designer he mentioned in one of his songs, and then they Googled it and went and bought it because they believed that fashion designer was so wavy, and they can't believe they never heard of that fashion designer. That's what I try to do with my music, but with knowledge, with mathematics, with history, with what people would say conspiracy, because when a kid hears it and they're on that edge, like you said, and they hear my song at the moment that they were supposed to hear it because the universe wanted them to hear it, that's when they DM me and they're like, Echo, what was that you was talking about in that record? I never heard that before. Break it down for me. I'll take the 20 minutes and break it down on my DM while I'm on my lunch break at work, instead of trying to fight and argue with some troll on Twitter telling me I'm an idiot for what I think. Fuck that.
I agree. You know, I agree. But this is where I disagree. Like, the only thing I take back from engaging with people that don't want to be engaged with, right? That's the way I would describe it.
Right.
This type of person is that sometimes, and it's very rare when it happens, but just sometimes you become friends through that engagement and through the disagreement, and now you have something to look forward to for someone to challenge your views.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because sometimes you may not be right. You know what I mean? Sometimes you may be wrong, and sometimes you need somebody to tell you.
You need a contradictory
Hey,
opinion.
exactly.
Totally,
Yeah.
I get
So,
that.
you know what I mean? So
Sometimes
so
you get a diamond in the rough like that.
in a way, you're kind of like sharpening your sword
Mm-hmm.
by engaging with different people's opinions.
On occasion that'll happen, but like I said, to me that's not the top priority. I mean,
Yeah,
that's like on
yeah.
the lower totem pole. Like, if I reach one guy, I could tell through 4 tweets back and forth with somebody whether or not there's somebody I can continue tweeting with, and I think
So,
I'm gonna get through or
for
not.
For you, is it on Twitter? Is it on Facebook? Is it on Instagram? Like,
Never
where
Facebook.
Where you playing around on?
Never
I don't know.
Facebook.
Never Facebook.
Facebook, I'm linked to just through my my business account on IG, so I'm able to do different promotions and stuff like that. But Facebook, I got.
Where do
off
you,
a long
play
time
around
ago.
on like a personal
IG.
like IG? Oh, okay, for sure.
IG,
yeah.
I think because of the visual aspect and the ability for people to actually see what I'm saying a lot of the times, because to hear it through song is one way, but then to see me actually either perform the song or to talk about the song and break it down, it helps people like engage with the song more.
So what do you think about IG's new, there's a new
Updates.
update thing, and all my
Yeah.
homies are like, oh, this is whack, you
Everybody
know?
hates it, yeah.
And then there's this new, and I'm sure you know about this controversy. Well, there was a whole TikTok
Banning TikTok.
being a basically a Chinese product that we didn't really want on American soil because they were
Right.
gonna be spying on us and collecting our information.
Even though
and
everything
crazy stuff
around
like
us
this.
is China.
In a sense, yes.
All products, everything
Right.
in people's kitchens, everything is from
Every
China.
single thing,
Every toy.
which is one thing that I feel like Trump hit the nail on the head with, which was trying to say we want to do away with this relationship where we use China for everything. You know what I mean? Like, we want to bring some of
Right.
this shit back over here. So in a way, he was like on the front of like saying, I want to ban TikTok, right? That was kind of his thing. He was like, I
Yeah.
don't like TikTok. I want to ban TikTok.
Yeah.
I kind of agreed with that, right?
Mhm.
To a certain extent. I was like, yeah, I don't know how I feel about Tencent owning this company and Tencent being Huawei and all these other Chinese
Right.
companies, right? So, but in a way, like, if you notice pay attention to what happened to Snapchat. So
Mhm.
Snapchat was very popular. All the kids love Snapchat,
Yeah, I
right?
tried it for a second.
And then what happened? Snapchat didn't want to be bought.
Mhm.
And then Facebook made an offer to say, yo, we'll give you this kind of millions of dollars. And they were like, nah, we don't want that. Like, we want to stay Snapchat.
Mhm.
And they were like, no, come on, just let us buy you out. And they were like, nope. So what did Facebook do? They say, we're just going to introduce Instagram stories.
Yeah, they
Just
bought
like that.
Instagram,
And
yeah.
they just killed Snapchat by introducing stories, which
Yeah.
was essentially the same idea as Snapchat, right?
I get it. I understand it completely.
Okay, now, TikTok videos are really short videos,
Yeah.
right? So what is this new?
Well, IG made Reels.
IG Reels. That's
Yeah,
exactly right. You
exactly.
see what I mean?
Yeah, but I get it. That it's like nothing. There's nothing conspiratorial about that. That's like a dog eat dog world. Like
That's
when-
right.
you
There's
know, when
no. That's just competition.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't like is conglomerates like big like monopolies.
Of course.
They should be broken up. You
They
know what
should
I mean?
be, but that
Yeah.
was that was the entire Occupy Wall Street concept, is breaking up oligarchies and monopolies and Wall Street down. I mean, again, for people to try to change symptoms of causes instead of causes, it's going to continue to be us, this hamster in a wheel spinning for the rest of our natural
Well, that's a good way to put it.
lives.
We shouldn't be trying to to
system
cure every symptom. We
the
should be
system-
looking at what cause of the
the
of the
system
problem.
itself is inherently flawed, fucked. So instead of trying to fix everything that system is causing, fix the system or get rid of it and replace it with something that's more humane, more eco-friendly, more involved.
Would it be fair to say that you are anti-capitalist or anti-hierarchical structure, things like this?
I'm pretty much against any ism.
Any ism? So,
Any
I
ism.
got you. So let's say communism.
Fascism,
You're not
communism,
good.
socialism, any ism, any sort of construct that puts us in this odd situation where things are being, created by humans and sold and given back and forth for monetary value and this invisible value. None of it, to me, makes any sense. I came on the podcast last year and I was talking about resource-based economies, I think, and talking about, artificial intelligence and 3D printing and having no manual labor on Earth and having no money on Earth and having no advertising and having nothing bought, and the concept of having it rain gold for 2 days and people hoarding gold for 2 days, and then after a year of it raining gold, people are shoveling gold out of their houses because they can't take how much gold is coming out of this guy. Like, when you have an abundance of something, you don't want it as much. So if there's an ability to have it all because it's all printed by machines, then you wouldn't want it all anymore. Like you think you would as a human.
So
now
you
think
think the answer to materialism
is abundance.
Is abundance?
Abundance.
Damn.
Straight up and down.
And I would say
abundance is the enemy of capitalism.
I would say that
because
that's
capitalism
not
is
realistic, and I'll tell you why. Because for me, greedy people, they got no bottom to fill. You know what I mean? Those people are bottomless, and you can give them more, 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 and they're never gonna stop eating. You know what I mean? They're never gonna stop wanting more.
That's hypothetical. We don't know that. We don't. If
we don't know that.
If we had the kind of society that I believe we should have, I can't say that people would be behaving the same way and would have the same values.
How about a
they have.
micro abundance? I can live with that. Like, my idea is an idea where everyone creates their own micro, like, fully sustainable environment, right? That is a form of full abundance, right? If you got your own food, you got your own energy, you got your own vegetables, you got your own everything, you got your own meat, you got your own everything. If you have an abundance of everything all by yourself, and if everybody has an abundance and no one needs to really be bartering,
right?
No one needs to be really doing, unless there's only one thing that is a downfall to that and is an upside to capitalism, and that is specialists. So, for example, like, I recently opened a bike shop right here in the city of Lawndale, in case anybody wants to come bring their bike. I'm about to plug myself. Woo! Yeah, I just opened a bike shop recently in the last 3 months. It's been doing great. There's a lot of unfortunately, coronavirus brought the business down for a lot of people. It's restaurants and people that are close contact with individuals and stuff like that. But a lot of essential businesses went up. Yeah. For example, bikes have been doing really well. People are buying bikes like crazy. Bikes are sold out everywhere. So, like, some things are doing well, some things are not doing so well. Right. So in a sense, I'm a specialist. Right. So I specialize in fixing bikes, specifically bicycles of all types, right? And I'm trained in doing that, and I do only that, right? So in a way, capitalism offers an incentive to people who are professionals in one aspect, right? For me to focus, so then I can make money, and then that way I can go to a different specialist. I can go to the homie down the street, which is a true story. He's a computer guy, right up the street on a close street. I was about to say what street, but yeah, he like close by here, and he'll tell me, hey, I got this computer for cheap. I'll hook you up with this and that. I go to him. He's a computer specialist, Right. So I think that capitalism provides that variety that we need in people having specific professions to take care of certain problems, right? And then we can trade and barter.
I feel like if people have a specialty or a passion to be doing something, they'd be much better off being able to do that without the burden of feeling like they have to do it because if they don't, they won't survive.
That's also true.
If you love to paint, if you had we obviously can't go from 0 to 100. So I'm not saying that we should go from where we are now to where I'm saying we should be. Obviously, first it would have to come with basic human needs met first.
Yeah, of course. We're talking about not the here and now, but I hope that our listeners know that we're talking
it's hyperbole for now.
Exactly,
but I'm saying if right now, if next weekend you knew that all your basic human needs were met. Like you didn't have to worry about food anymore. You didn't have to worry about heat anymore. You didn't have to worry about where to live anymore. You didn't have to worry about rent anymore. You'd probably feel lighter.
Definitely.
You probably feel like there's a little bit of a less pressure and you're able to like, maybe today I don't have to go to work. And then
you know, there's a word for that. It's called egalitarianism.
Yeah.
So, you know, and other countries have explored the ability of providing everything for a certain set of individuals.
But that's governmental.
Yeah, exactly.
For me, like I don't even want to stop at universal basic income and stuff like that. I'm talking about literally an entire global society that is run through automated redistribution centers that create 3D print.
Well, for me,
all the things we need.
For me, I think it's natural that this is something where it's going to contradict what you're saying, and that is that for me, hierarchical structures, the structures that we observe today that are unequal, that are unfair, that are the creation of inequality of poor and rich people, right? All the problems that we have in society today. Just like tribalism is a naturally occurring phenomenon, hierarchies, that pyramid structure is a naturally occurring phenomenon. Just look at the way that animals organize. They have hierarchy structures. You know what I mean? So I think that to a certain extent,
but
we've done that automatically.
There's a different hierarchy structure that could evolve organically. Like you said, animals have one. So there's an evolution. Animals are a lower animal species. We as humans have a
lower conscious being. Yeah,
right.
yeah,
and then we have one now, as we are today. If our consciousness develops and ascends higher, then obviously the hierarchical structure will evolve with it. So it's not going to look how it looks right now, but it's going to be there inherently somewhere. It's just not going to be, I think, as forced and oppressive as it is today.
So I'll give you an example. Like, say, for example, men are more than likely going to be more physically capable than most women. So men are more likely to risk their lives climbing a skyscraper to clean the windows or doing crazy stuff, right? Like death-defying jobs and stuff, right? And so that is a type of inequality. Men master the domain of work that requires more physical labor.
In a space where everything is done by machines, that job
is no longer required.
The machine does it, so now a man doesn't have that over a woman.
But I keep a lot of reptiles as a hobby, and one thing that I learned about reptiles is that you got to give them some type of like they got to have input and output. You know, you can't just keep them in a box. Like they have to have there's a word for it. I can't think of it at the top of my head right now, but they need stimulation, right? So how do you feel about humans? Like, do you think that if we had everything, if we had everything we needed to the T, right, and there was an abundance of everything, do you think that is it possible that will create depression, that will create because we lack stimulation?
I think
we lack the effort of the we need the climb. You know what I mean?
It's going to be a natural.
If you take away the climb,
but the climb changes because
everything
else changes.
So if we take away, all right. So I'm gonna give you another hypothetical. So if our climb right now is a climb for food and water and drink and survival, so you're saying that if we had all those things off top, that if our climb would be geared towards something new,
something else that we've never seen on the planet before.
Gotcha.
And it's only because right now we're living with something that has never been seen on the planet before, and that's technology.
Technology.
Yeah, there's been technology.
But how do you know it hasn't been around? Say 12,000 years ago, pre-Ice Age. How do you know that?
I mean, there's talks of people that people talk about the Satya era and the 11,500 BC era, and there being the golden age where there were different beings on the planet that were talking telepathically and with animals and with nature itself, and that they had different flying ships and higher technologies than we have today. That's all very plausible and probable. I'm sure there's no proof.
But there's no evidence of it.
Right. So for now, all I know is that in this current state that we're in and existing right now is who we are. This is something that's never been seen, as far as I know, recorded in history. So it's only going to make sense that whatever we're going to next also hasn't been seen ever.
But would it be naive of us to assume that this is the first time this has happened, knowing that we know it? And I'm saying, like, based on recent evidence that's been discovered by dudes like Graham Hancock.
Are you talking about older dimensions? Or are you talking about in our lifetime?
I'm talking about on Earth, in the space that is Earth, at 12,000 years ago specifically, before the Great Calamity or the Great Flood, which is now scientifically proven to have happened at that particular period in time, which no one in mainstream media really wants to put that perception into reality.
It changes Bibles
because it changes what we're exactly
scripture. Yeah.
So, but if that's true, and if these dudes were able to lift rocks and build these crazy monuments that there's no way we could really build today,
right?
what does that say about what type of technologies these people had accessible to them? How do you feel about people that explore not the cosmos but the inner self? What about people who do ayahuasca, DMT, and these type of things? What is there?
I'm all for
Is there something for that? Is there something to that we haven't understood yet?
Yeah, I think that that's also going to be in some way, shape, or form. Like I always use the bridge of augmented reality and artificial technology, as far as virtual reality being something that's introduced to our species as something that's going to be able to bridge a level of empathy we've never been able to touch on before, like where you can actually, somewhat to an extent, nerve-wise, feel what somebody else is going through. I think that those kind of drugs also is that kind of bridge where we're able to reach a level where we haven't been able to reach it consciously.
Do you think that, because speaking of bridges between humans and technology, what about Elon Musk's recent development with Neuralink?
Right.
And did you see his new video that he put out where he tested it on pigs and he had a whole simulation thing going on?
Right.
Like, and he proposed certain aspects of it being able to get rid of paralytic problems, right? He can restore function in certain limbs.
Right.
Do you think that that's a step closer to that? Do you think that that's a way to augment our reality with technology?
I think so.
But you don't consider that to be fundamentally immoral in any kind of way?
No. I think a lot of things, even, I mean, one can look at the atom bomb. I mean, the ability we had at that time to be able to split an atom and see what it could do and what it did for us as far as technology and being able to birth technologies that we use today, and also being able to be used to like destroy Japan. You know, I mean, you could look at the bad and good and the flip of that coin too, but there's nothing that would stop me ever, or if I'm the one that's being able to say yes or no to something moving forward or not, there's nothing really that's going to be able to stop me unless I can actually either mathematically or categorically see that it's going to lead to doom. If it's just a thought or a possibility or a plausibility, I'd much rather take the risk for greatness than have it succumb to horribleness and be like, oh shit, I shouldn't have gone for that.
So for me, this is where I think another way where we think different, and that is that for me, pessimism, being a pessimist, is a form of self-help. It's a form of trying to figure out the things that may go wrong. It's like a type of hood mentality. You're thinking, all right, X can go wrong, Y can go wrong. You're having like this predictive behavior of like self-adjustment. You want to make sure that everything goes right. You know what I mean? You're in like this.
I hear the wording used, pessimism. I'm my major in college is philosophy, so I know that Rene Descartes' philosophy is skepticism, and skepticism being a philosophy that's used as an art as far as being able to strip things down by being skeptical of them to the point where you feel you've proven them or disproven them. And
exactly.
And that's an art, and I use that mentality when I go into a lot of things that I think about.
The one thing that I'm against when it comes to pessimism and positivity is all of this like all this talk about we don't need negativity in our lives. All we need is positivity. Right. All we need is let's not talk about nothing bad. Let's only talk about good stuff and whoop-de-wop. I feel like at the same time when people do that,
no, it's too extreme.
Yeah, you're going too far into the other side. You know what I mean?
Nobody's that all the time.
And some people's Instagrams feeds and like online feeds is just that, you know. And you're getting nothing but like, yo, check out, I'm at the beach.
Right.
I'm over here with the boys on this. You know what I mean?
It's one view of
it's one view of the world. As for me, that positivity is leaving out the negativity that you should be paying attention to, because it could lead to a catastrophe that you should have been able to predict. You know what I mean? So for me,
and it's a balance.
Thinking negatively is a way to predict possible outcomes, right?
Thinking negatively, not to the point where it injures you or hinders you from being able to do what you need to do, but to a point where you're actually being able to be cautious.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So I'm all about being cautious. You know what I mean?
Well, like my homie the other day said it on Instagram, and I told my daughter this yesterday. I was like, too little of water, you die. Too much of water, you die. Too little of fire, you die. Too much of fire, you die. So there's a balance in life that you have to always be able to find, no matter what it is that you're dealing with. And the things that are very good for you sometimes can also kill you, and the things you need can also take you out. So you have to be able to see life in that way too: positive, negative, balance, pessimism. And
the key to life is balance. I think we're hitting it right
life.
there. Yeah, the key to life is balance. We need to stop
view-wise, perspective-wise, moral-wise, like just balance.
That's the whole deal.
Communication, balance,
and sometimes I feel that people run away from the negativity because they have been either traumatized by it or they're afraid of it. They don't want to look at it anymore, you know. They don't want to know what's coming. They just want to live their life with blinders, and they just want, you know. But at the same time, there's people who hyper focus on only negativity,
Right.
and they only ever talk about negative things, and they only ever look at negative things, and then their whole life is full of too much stress.
Yeah.
You know,
You
their
could be-
cortisol levels are high.
You could be
know?
joyous, but it's like Peterson said once about being able to embrace the dark and being able to see that the same thing that you think is so evil and horrible in somebody that's like an SS soldier or a torturer in the CIA or somebody that's just a serial killer, they're humans. So the same thing that person has in them that allows them to be that horrible, you have in you too.
And you know it's crazy.
So you have to know that about yourself and
people,
your ability to be.
People don't think that that's possible.
Yeah, we all have that in
people
us.
imagine like, oh, if I was a Hitler Nazi soldier, I would never do that. I would never gas
a human
Jews.
was
My guy,
doing that.
A human did that.
Yeah,
my
a
guy.
human
like,
did
You know what I
that.
mean? Like they can like if they were convinced.
I mean, we all have different, obviously, walks of life and journeys and experiences and situations, but consciousness-wise, we're all human. We all have the same exact level of consciousness, no more, no less. Like, we're human beings. If you're a human, you have the same consciousness I have. So your ability or propensity for that kind of horror is in me, too. I just have to know that I can use it as good if I ever need to get out of a situation where I feel that kind of rage is necessary. And I can also temper it and make sure that I always keep it here so I don't rage.
It's a
on
tool.
people. It's a tool.
It's a tool that
It's
we
a tool.
developed, unfortunately, from living a life in an area or time and place where things were rough. But now that we've learned to master it, we can look at it, we can look back at it and be like, hey, I'm going to call on that tool when I need it. You
Because
know what I mean?
it's old brain. It's before we had the neocortex and we have the new brain. So the old brain is very limbic and it's very fight, flight, or freeze. And we use that kind of fear-based mentality from our old brain to navigate life. But if you let one, like you said, with the balance, if you let one run too much, then you're always fight, 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 or you're always flight, 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 or you're always freeze, freeze, freeze. You got to know when to kind of use that old brain mentality when it helps you, not
We've got to
hinders you.
master our animalistic instincts, which are
We're all
the
animals.
root of ego. And we have to surpass that and reach the new level of consciousness,
Yeah.
which is, full understanding. You know?
Right.
Some people are thinking in 360p. Some people are thinking in 480p. I feel like
We talked about that last
we're
time.
at least on 1080 right now.
Right.
At least. I
Yeah.
can't say we're at 4K yet, but
Yeah, but it's a matter
we're
of
trying.
Yeah, we're trying.
trying.
It's
We're
all about
trying.
people trying to just expand their awareness, man. And like you said, it's a different time. And I feel like I keep saying, like, the only way we're gonna get to that place where I feel we're gonna be able to get to is by us being able to adapt our awareness and our thinking, and not thinking that things are limited and they can only be the way they've been. Like, no, we can have shit that we've never even seen because right now we're living with something that's never been seen.
And another point that one of the guys in the chat brings up is when you were talking earlier about sustainability, he says, Adam VV says, we can print 3D houses for homeless people to take care of the homeless crisis. And
my
there's
whole
a
feed is full of that. My whole feed is full of 3D printed homes and 3D printed neighborhoods in Brazil, 3D printed neighborhoods in the Middle East. That kind of stuff has been going on for at least 6 years, and it's in my bio in my Instagram. I talk about building a 3D town.
Yeah, so like in a way, have you seen what's going on in LA ever since coronavirus? Like with the homeless people taking over whole areas like Venice Beach.
Yeah.
Tent cities. Like ever since there was, I guess, a type of allegation or litigation between the city and the police. Ever since the Black Lives Matter protests, that the police can't engage with certain members of the society, especially homeless people. So they've been able to kind of just like run free.
Yeah.
And then now you go to Venice Beach, which was like the most popular like visiting tourist space in LA. And now it's covered in homeless people.
That's part of that disgustingness that I talk about as far as governance. Like, there is obviously an ability to have everybody that doesn't have a home to have a home. Like, the resources are there, the materials are there. Every single human being, baby, old person, middle-aged person can have a house, literally built. But there's a barrier called capitalism, politics, democracy, whatever ism you want to stick to it. Like, there's not a lack of reason. Like, hunger is not a problem on the planet because there's a lack of food. There's no lack of food. There's no lack of food. Like, it's everywhere around on the planet, but there's something that's not letting the food be put in hungry people's mouths.
Yeah, and I want to say that system that is
It
corrupt.
sucks dick.
I want to say that it's bureaucracy. You know what I mean? I feel like
It's people in
you can-
power that don't want to let go of their power.
For example, you can create a system that works great, right? No matter what system it is, but its efficiency is based on how it moves. So there's latency
Yeah.
in certain things that you, even for like setting up the studio, like you have to take into account how long something takes to process between our mixer and the different things.
Yeah.
So latency is an issue. So if you're dealing with human bodies, like you said, of course there's gonna be latency. Look at people driving.
Right.
One of the craziest things is I was just watching a random video on YouTube about traffic and how it works. Apparently, if a chicken crosses the road and a car stops for the chicken, all the cars previous to that vehicle are going to start braking, right? And the chicken will walk across the road, but the braking will continue for hours after. There's like a ghost effect of
ripple.
like a ripple effect of that. That's a terrible design for traffic. You know what I mean? It's hella slow.
Right.
There is too much latency. There's too much backed up data that is like moving through time. And
again,
you know what I mean?
That's the system, and its innate flawedness is the fact that it's created in a way where it's not supposed to be efficient. It's not. It's supposed to be the entire structure of our society is based on two things: the bottom line and illusion of scarcity. Like every single thing in our society, because of the ism we exist in, is done at the least amount of energy possible for the least amount of money possible. Like whatever the cheapest way you can get it done, but getting it done is the way it's going to be done. Everybody will out cheap each other to get it done the cheapest way and sell it at the highest price. The illusion of scarcity is the other thing that runs our entire system. The fact that we think that things that we need are scarce. We think that things that we all have and that we all want are limited. But again, abundance is the thing. Like if there was just abundance of everything, I don't think people at first, of course, would be hoarding and going crazy and being like overwhelming themselves with everything they ever wanted. I think at some point,
like the TP,
it'll dissipate. Yeah, I think it'll slowly dissipate. And you'll be like, damn, I don't need all this shit anymore. Take it away. Like get rid of some of this shit. I just need this stuff. Like I'm cool with that.
Right.
We'll get there. It's not going to be immediate. It's not going to be overnight where people, of course, they're going to take advantage of it. Of course, there's going to be corruption in it. You have to let all that happen and slowly let it settle into the foundation it's supposed to be in, because this shit we have now is not it. Like this is bullshit.
Yeah, and unfortunately,
look at the PS5 craze.
Yeah,
you go
exactly.
online, PS5 is the only thing on everybody's timeline. I'm like, what is this bullshit? People are resellers are selling it for like 20 grand.
I find that really funny with the PS5 because it's value is set at like $500. It's really not that expensive of an item. You know what I mean? For people to be going buck wild over it.
It's the same thing as everything else. It comes out for 500, and then a year later, when the next one comes out, that one drops to 2.
Yeah,
like,
exactly right.
It's the same monkey
value
thing they do to us.
Value is something that I feel like needs to be more carefully observed because we want to think that value is like false, right? We want to think that, all right, you buy an iPhone today, right? It costs you this much. You try and sell it tomorrow, you can only get half. You know what I mean? So value, I think understanding value is important.
That's
because
what it is.
Because what it is in a commonality, an agreement between people. So for example, like if something goes up in value on eBay or whatever, right? Let's say some weird shoes that like some Yeezys or something that everybody wants. They go up in value and up in value and up in value, and these things are 20 racks at some point.
Right?
Are they worth $20,000 physically?
Not,
Physically, you look at the shoe itself.
They were made for $12.
Exactly.
Like
intrinsically, the value of the shoe is not there.
It's a symbol of people's mind states.
It's a symbol of
their value
people's
system.
Agreement.
On the value
of that object.
That's what money is.
What it is.
That's what cash
what money is.
Cash is an agreed upon psychopathic thing we created. Like there's nothing backing money. Money is just floating.
Now, but if there was something backing money, right? Then we're talking about a different thing. I think that would be a decent system.
Because we're talking about a change of value system. Look at the values that are pervasive throughout all of society. We have with the girls find valuable what they deem as role models, what guys seem as valuable, and what they deem as like it's all jacked.
And isn't it messed up that all of these like lower level value thoughts are pronounced in like top 100 billboards, like everyone talking on TV. You know, you go on The View, you go on all these shows.
Well, again,
they talk about all this crazy stuff.
The one thing that we've been talking about for this last whatever is like the fact that
You know?
the system is fucked.
How can you be like, oh my God, I'm anti all these things. I'm anti-racism, anti-homophobia, anti-ableism. I'm anti all these things. I want equal rights for everyone. I want equality. I want all these things, opportunities. And then you go and listen to Cardi B bump WAP. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's
Yo, where are you at with your values?
It's a values.
You know what I
I
mean?
mean, that's what it is. People's values are their own like thing that they've created over the course of how many years that they've been like around. So it's like, yeah, it's different to everybody. But if everybody's sharing this weird same common value system that is just warped, then yeah, I mean, the things that we deem valuable and things like PS5, you know, dominating the news sphere for a week is going to continue to happen.
Yeah, that's never gonna. I mean, there's nothing we can do to really make
Not
that
right
go away.
now.
Not right now.
Not
yeah.
right now, no. But I think, again, if the more that society embraces technology and allows it to do what it's supposed to do and provide the abundance it's supposed to provide for us, I think, and allowing us to be freer with our time and not having to work and having to do all the things we do now, I think it's going to be a better world.
And all of that stuff combined, like the crazes. I call them crazes, right? Because they're like, it happens, it hits once in a while. The iPhone 12 pops out, everyone wants it.
Crazy.
You know, the
Long lines outside.
long lines, all that stuff, right? Well, we
Sleeping
got
into-
Black Friday coming up.
Oh,
People
yeah.
are getting ready to get all kinds of cuckoo at the grocery store, at the Walmart and stuff like this. You know, people
In
are
the
ready
middle
to
of
do
a
all kinds of
pandemic.
in the middle of a pandemic, and the funny thing is that like the pandemic is convenience. It's applied where they want it to be applied, but in other instances it's not applied.
Right.
So like, you know, when it comes to money, the bottom line is, like you were saying, we're motivated by the bottom line, and the bottom line is we don't want to not make money.
Right.
During
I've been
you know,
saying since the beginning how I can't believe that me and then my baby moms are homeschooling our kid. I'm like, I can't believe that the first day, February, whatever, March 8th, whenever this thing hit the news, how the first thing the government didn't say was we have to make sure schools are open. We have to spend $30 billion on testing every kid, every teacher, every janitor, and make sure that the schools remain open and that everybody and that it's clean. That's the last thing on anybody's mind. Like, I work at Chanel. Like, that shit is open since June. I'm like, how is me selling handbags and people buying luxury items more important than my 6-year-old going to school and being with her friends and social learning with her buddies? Like,
exactly.
She's been learning on Zoom calls. I'm like, this society sucks dick. Like, how is my kid in like a year now almost social learning and learning online when stores are open, people are eating on the sidewalk with umbrellas over their heads and face masks? I'm like, that's important.
Bananas, bro. It's
like
bananas.
That's important, but not the kids learning.
It's bananas, bro. And then, like, you know, even they'll even use it for political affiliations. Like, oh, Trump supporters now protesting today, and none of them have masks. 2 days later, BLM is protesting in downtown LA. Nobody has masks. Oh, standing up for equality.
It's crazy.
You know, like, yo, but how come those dudes aren't wearing masks? You know what I mean? Like, what is this about?
I see it everywhere. I see people at clubs. I see the people like just next to, like, you see them at the super spreaders, like at the rallies. It's just like there's a weirdness going on. But I'm hoping, like I said, that this is all going to lead to a growth for us in some weird way that we can't even see or foresee yet. Like, in some way, we're going to come out of this, like, hopefully better, stronger, realizing like some shit just has to go, because a lot of things also got exposed over this last year, whether it's corruption, whether it's people's values or people that you thought were friends that believe certain things and now you know they believe that don't line with what you believe, and now you can separate yourself from that kind of person. Like, all these things are evolving and morphing, and I think at the end of this, hopefully, whatever the end looks like is going to be a different, like, shift in people's mentalities.
Yeah, I agree. I think that
like you were saying, like, you had to learn or made yourself like learn a bunch of shit to get this up and running today.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
during
that was crazy too.
Me during the pandemic, I recorded like 3 songs in my car and released them as like singles, like that kind of stuff that I've been doing. I learned how to like use GarageBand. I learned how to use all these different like tools that I never knew how to use.
That's the one thing I was like, yo, if we're going into quarantine, I better hear a bunch of fire mixtapes from everyone being in their house all day long. You know what I mean? Like, I want to hear dope music come out of this pandemic. If anything, you know what I mean? If everyone's sitting at their house in their studio, got all the time in the world to play with their computer.
No, I've been.
I want to hear some fire. You know?
I'm in the middle of a 5-month tape run right now. So I put out a mixtape in September, a 5-song tape with a bunch of different producers. Then in October, last month, I put out another mixtape, 5-song tape with one producer. So the next 5 months, I'm putting out one 5-song tape every month with one different producer.
That's dope. You have some of this stuff uploaded right now? Can we check some of it out?
Yeah, it's on my site for sure.
Cool. Let's go check it out.
Yeah.
We'll play some of your videos real quick. We'll take a little quick quick break
Oh,
while these play. The podcast was so fired that when one of these lamps fell for no reason. We're gonna fix that. But you direct. Let's see. Oh, so we're on echoisthename.com.
Yeah, Echo is
so
the name.
If you want to check out anything Echo, just go check this spot out right here.
My videos,
So
my songs.
everything is there. Here, I'll pull it up for everyone else to see.
Done.
So which is the first video you want to bump?
My latest video right now is John Wick, and obviously, if anybody knows about John Wick, the video is a movie. The video is I'm so proud of this video, man. It's just
you like this one?
I love this video.
All right, we're gonna bump it right now, real quick.
I love this video. I could be critical about myself, and when something's just not good, it's not good. But this, I think, was conceptually,
you like this
I
one.
killed it.
See, I like that. You're honest. You know?
Yeah.
You gotta be honest. Oh shit.
Yeah, this was fire, man.
I'm gonna fix this light real quick.
Oh yeah. Ooh, grapes, the social grape sixes, social status. Oh, look at the Glock. And those are not toys. That's a real AR. Shout out my homie D for the hardware. Let's get it.
John Wick, shoot you while I punch you, hunt you, then confront you, turn you into lunch food, cold cut, that's what I'm making of you. I learned from the best, Kiyosaki and Sun Tzu. You better order war, I mastered that before Rich Dad. Poor dad, he should have bust you inside a scumbag. Never bite the hand that feeds you, that's the program. Fuck the cops, all these pigs make me go ham. Fuck 12, you a gun jam, I'm rapid fire, using one hand, hold a microphone with it, giving suntans. I fear no man, that #1 title, you gotta unhand. I'm underhanded, turn your fans into my fans. I come from a land where niggas live right on sand. Let's go. Original man, where supreme math is part of your plans. Fuck a base scan, you gotta catch me if you can.
Oh no.
I'm on the lam, stolen knowledge, stolen first hand. Take a dirt now, I'm the worst man to ever fuck with. Better learn to duck quick, or you out of luck, kid. You could suck this if you think you're better than I. I'm a veteran when it comes to using my third eye. My bird's eye view is spherical, I see 360. I'm ridiculous with it, like Ja Rule and 50. With words I'm nifty, put y'all niggas under 6 feet. Forever sleep, till you come back like zombies. I'm OD when it comes to smoking on bomb trees. I'm under palm trees, torching that new Rome streets. I'm from the streets where I roll thick, I'm obese. No cold feet, you sold weed or whole heat. I defrost you like cold meat, I'm so low key. I give you niggas keys while I drink on cold beats. I'm Cochise, a revolutionary artiste. I'm paranoid, Dominican, like I'm JD.
Hey.
See, like even that bar when I said a revolutionary like Cochise, like a lot of people started to DM me about who that is, and they started to learn about Cochise and being a revolutionary, and like just I always try to put little crumbs in the raps so that people could always like ask me, and I always try to be open and let people like come into my DMs and just ask me questions about the songs.
Dude, that's honestly, it's a pretty sick track.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, so it's every month gonna be a new mixtape on my website. It's gonna be 5 songs. It's gonna be songs of like some are party, some are hard as fuck, some are conscious, some are fuck cops. A lot of different vibes that I'm putting out there for different tapes, and it's each different producers.
I see. Here's what's this one right here?
That's my second album I dropped in 2013. I'm signing. Well, they're all sold out now, but I had 15 copies that I was signing and sending to people, so 15 people bought them.
Sick.
So I shipped those out.
Hell yeah, man. And is there any other videos that you put out recently?
Yeah, you can drop down.
Yeah, direct me.
Older posts. And I'm dropping a video this week as well that I shot last week, so that's gonna drop. That's the new tape.
Can we give anyone a sneak preview of your new video on this podcast?
I don't have it up anywhere yet. The thing is still like on my phone. I haven't even like leaked it to anybody.
Airdrop, bro.
So that's season 1. So you can see the concept behind each one is a streaming service. So that obviously you could see is
I see it echoes the name TV.
Netflix.
Yeah. I see the font.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you scroll up, go to the So that one is Hulu. So
I just noticed that.
So that's Hulu. I just got the artwork. My man, the guy that I'm having doing my graphics just sent me the one that I'm doing for this month, November.
And
that's the Amazon Prime.
oh, sick.
So every month is going to be a different streaming service. It's going to be a different season with different episodes. Every song is an episode. So it's episode 1, episode 2, episode 3, episode 4, episode 5, every tape.
And where are you uploading these so for us to check it out?
Well, every tape is on Bandcamp and now is on every DSP. So Spotify, Apple, Tidal, Deezer, Amazon. You can
and we
find
can
it
just find it right here on echoisthename.com.
Echoisthename.com. It'll take you to every kind of hyperlink I got.
Right
I think the video before John Wick was the one I just did here. If you scroll down, yeah, that's the video
This is
I put
the
up
last
before
one,
the
okay.
other one. So that's off the first.
Did you
tape.
make this during Rona as well?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Alright, let's
social
check this out.
distancing, one guy, just me and the homie, far apart from each other, him, recording me. I was trying to take all my precautions that I had to take to make sure, wifey wasn't upset. I wasn't putting my family in danger, but I know as an artist, I have to produce. I have to put content out. So if I figure out a way to do it in the best, safest way I can, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, let's bump this one real quick.
This is by my homie Nina Films. He killed us. Dominicano.
Wow.
I was like, nah. That's my vibe. Yeah. This is produced by my buddies in Dominican Republic. The beat. Middle finger up, yeah. Give a fuck? Never. Listen to your mumble raps? No, not ever. Sever all ties with you like I'm Chris Webber. Never talk to Jalen Rose again. It's whatever. Never heard a better MC this clever. Letters come together like Sway and Heather. B.I.B. the epitome of MC square. Need more ciphers. Too many squares. Gotta stay in shape. Always be prepared. Fuck boys winning? No, not around here. Woe is me. The game done changed. Niggas sound the same, man. That shit is so lame. Woe is me. The game done changed. Niggas sound the same, man. I find it so strange. Woe is me. The game done changed. Niggas sound the same, man. That shit is so lame. Woe is me. The game done changed. And even here I say Satya Yuga. Listen. Hey, when that song raps, I bring it back. Satya Yuga, having flashbacks. So I'm talking about 11,000 BC, Golden Age. And niggas really snap. Cooking keys and trap, locks in the trap. That's why they call it trap. Think about that. Think about play with scraps. Yeah, that's what they want. Yeah, let me break it down while I light this blunt. Get a bunch of bands, they got you on a hunt. Buy a bunch of crap, man, they make you wanna stunt. Fourth down, punt. I be kicking fast. Call a fair cat, take a knee, calling caps. Woe is me, the game done changed. Niggas sound the same, man, that shit is so lame. Woe is me, the game done changed. Niggas sound the same, man, I find it so strange. Let me break it down, everything is round. I'm the ringmaster, I be killing clowns. Put them underground if they rap underground. Rap thunder sounds, rain clouds make you drown. Uptown, 4 pound, take your 4 pounds. Now you out of bounds, niggas worried about a crown. Worry about your foundation, feet on the ground. Break the speed of light, then break the speed of sound. Hey, woe is me, the game done changed. Niggas sound the same, man, that shit is so lame. Woe is me, the game done changed. Yeah, so I did one video for season 1. I've got 2 videos out for season 2.
I like this one more.
Thank you.
But it's just because
No, I love it.
because that's why they call it trap, bro. What do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. That's why they call it trap.
It's in the name.
It's in the name. It's a trap.
It's in the name.
You got that. I like that. You heard that. Okay. My guy. Oh, I never even saw the very ending of my video. That's dope. I'm such I've watched it, but I never really saw it to the full. Oh, that's dope. Okay. I'm glad that's my video.
Yeah, man. And it, like I'm all for all those things. You know what I mean? I'm a DJ, so I gotta play a lot of stuff that I don't want to play a lot of times. At particular spaces. I gotta do certain things. I gotta make everybody happy.
Of course.
But there's just some times where I'm just like, there's just some things I just don't want to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can't rock with a lot of stuff. I'm just personally, I'm like, I get why people find it popular, but it's not my wave. It's not my wave.
Pretty crazy, man. Pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's going to be a good ending for me, at least the year. I've been somehow, in a weird way, I guess, not more so, but definitely differently productive during this pandemic. I thought at the beginning of in March, February, when everything shut down, I thought I was done for like a year. I figured I can't go nowhere. We can't do no shows. I had 3 gigs for like April and June. They all got canceled. I was hoping for a festival in October that got canceled. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I put out that video. That was the first video I put out at the beginning of the pandemic. Because
you got one about the pandemic.
Yeah, because I couldn't go out and shoot yet. I was so scared about what the world was like. So I made a cartoon.
Here, let's watch this cartoon real quick. Let's check it out.
I love this one too, I got to say. And this song I recorded was the first song I recorded in my car. So I had to learn GarageBand in like one day how to record my voice without hearing dogs barking. And then I got the video done because I was like, I can't go out and shoot with anybody like I normally would. How can I do a video? And I was like, I'll be a cartoon.
See, this is history, bro.
Whole world spinning off the shit we live in. We in a critical position if we stay in this prison. I'm not talking about the COVID-19 sickness. Talking about cops killing, our black blood spilling. We keep on willing to march against the system. It's not a protest if you've been given permission. No, it's not a revolution if you taking what's given. You're not changing shit if you always giving in. The problem is people that are in the positions, their forefathers wrote all the laws that are written. So they've been learning this shit since their first Christmas. And everybody else be like, what the fuck is this? It was put in
What's Big Man?
Pulled from physics.
It's a video.
It's esoteric. It's in the hieroglyphics.
It's in my YouTube.
It's about control, social class systems, whole other language, study linguistics. Is this the best we could do? I don't think so. Is this the best we could do? I don't think so. Is this the best we could do? I don't think so. Is this the best we can do? I don't think so. This is the best we can do? I don't think so.
I love Saturday morning
This is the best
cartoons,
we
so I was
can
so
do?
happy
I
with
don't
it.
think so.
We don't even have that no more.
Nah.
I don't think so.
No money.
This is the best we could do. I don't think so. Back to this corona shit. That's where I started. The way it fucking hit us so quick, it was retarded. The president's retarded, so I can see the logic of why we look dumb. I understand those optics. We washing our hands, wiping off objects. A lot of prophets made a whole bunch of profits. Politicians flipping stocks to fill their pockets, filling their coffers with all y'all dollars. Through us $1,200, that's the offer for not giving a fuck about all of us paupers. Most representatives and senators are lawyers. That's why the government is so cold-hearted. If the sea parted, they wouldn't walk across it. Now we gotta wash groceries after shopping, wearing masks because the ball they dropped it. We normalized to it, but when we gonna stop it? Is this the best we could do? I don't think so. Is this the best we could do? I don't think so. Is this the best we could do? I don't think so. Is this the best we could do? I don't think so. This is the best we can do? I don't think so. This is the best we could do? I don't think so. This is the best we could do?
Tim's on
I don't
too.
think so. This is the best we can do? Nah. Come on, man. We gotta get it together. We can't keep going through this. Stand up.
And how did you make that video? What did you do there?
Oh, the homie, man. I found this guy online that was doing that. I don't know how he came across my timeline. Did a few cartoon videos that I thought were fire, and I came up with the concept of.
Is that him right there?
Yeah.
Dion Cartoons?
Dion's cartoons, man. He does
Sick.
sick videos, man. Cartoon videos for your pleasure.
That's dope.
What is he asking for? Big man?
Yeah, someone's asking for Big Man.
Can you go to my YouTube? Is there a way to get to that? Yeah, there you go. If you just click on.
Hey, I'm
name.
not subscribed to you.
No,
What's
just.
going on?
Oh, you may not be.
Let's hit that. Give me the link.
There you go. Dope.
A Big Man. So who's that? Oh, someone in the chat's asking for Big Man.
That's my. You could go to videos.
Wait, hold up. Let me give you a.
Oh my god. It might be. They go to playlist. Probably find it there. Man, I got a good amount of views. Okay, so go to Echo's music videos right there. Yeah. If you scroll down, it should be Big Man on the right. If you scroll down, there it is. You just passed it. There it is.
All right, we playing Big Man.
It's for the homie. Yeah, he loves that shit. I like this video too. It's visually appealing to me. Shout out Apartment 4B. That's the shirt.
Bullshit. I see through the bullshit like I wear special glasses. You sit in the bullshit while taking special classes. I will schedule classes on how to rap like masters. I will make you fatherless to kill you bastards faster. After the laughter, yeah, y'all know the rest. If you ain't up on Wu-Tang, fuck you where you rest. I ain't trying to be the best, that means nothing. Nobody's the best, me dog, that means something. Not for nothing, I rap better than all these niggas. But it's about popularity and analytics. I rap about physics, philosophy and spirits, fringe science. My shit is outer limits. You so mad, you are big mad. Cause I be bullshit and still be in my bag. You so mad, you are big mad. Cause I be bullshit and
Shout out David and Vic.
I'm legitimately the best MC you've ever heard. I'm absurd when it comes to formulating words. I'm a nerd, you're a turd, that means piece of shit. I am MC Hammer cause I'm too legit to quit.
That's Signal Hill?
4 bars ago that I'm
Yeah.
legit the best. Ahead of all the rest.
Look at that gummy.
Talking parsec.
That shit was huge.
Press on this I will profess. Your songs are a mess. Every rap I detest. And I make message music.
We were gonna shoot with drones, but there's restrictions on drones.
Yeah, the
So we
airport.
kept it round.
How'd you get an ice cream truck?
Homie saw me recording. He was like, "Please shoot in my truck." I was like, "For sure." He was like, "I love the song."
You so mad, you are big mad. Cause I be bullshit and still be in my bag.
Hey.
That's a vibe.
I ride my bike all the time right there.
Signal Hill is gorgeous.
Yeah.
That's I always wanted
Just
to
for
shoot
the
a
climb.
video. Yeah, that's gorgeous up there.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, man. Still trying to change the landscape of rap, man. Still doing my rap thing and getting people to like think smart rap is cool and rapping
Yeah.
about certain things is cool, and you can still be street and rap about things that are just wavy and different and out of the norm and shit, fringe, if you will.
yeah, definitely.
That's what I love about the music is that I get, like you said, I reach people that I guess like I always get trolls. I always get people that think that what I talk about is too wild, too crazy. It's never gonna happen. It's a weird thing to talk about and think about. But the people that buy it, that dig in and DM me and hit me up and email me and get on my mailing list, they're the ones that I do the music for, because they're like, yo, I think you could be, if you're not gonna be the one that's gonna help do that shit, you're planting a seed for somebody. Because I got kids in Brazil, I got kids in Colombia, I got kids in fucking Africa that just hit me up at all hours of the night, just like, yo, I'm playing your music out here, I'm trying to get it on this radio station locally, man. What you need, what you say needs to be heard. I'm like, yo, much love, man.
Yeah,
I need it.
the world is bigger than just LA and
For
people
sure.
hanging out right here, So
Yeah.
there's a lot of things that it may not apply today, right now, right here, but it may apply in the past, present, or future.
Yeah.
In a different place, in a different time.
Yeah.
So like,
I'm speaking to
it's just,
somebody
yeah.
out there, because I mean, if it wasn't working in some way, shape, or form for me, I wouldn't be doing it. So I just continue to put out content.
yeah, it's just that's what it is. Because we all try and do our part in like being, how can I say, like noticed, like
Yes,
like
to
we
be
all
seen.
we all want to be seen,
We all
right?
wanna be seen.
We all want to leave a footprint everywhere we walk, right?
Right.
Like, so in graffiti, we all want to like leave a little tag, a little something, let us
Something to
know,
be
let
remembered
let
so
somebody
people-
know that we were there, we
Yeah.
existed,
We existed.
So we want a reflection
Validation.
of us in the world, So if we can see somebody else doing something similar to how we do it, then that
Mhm.
makes us feel good, because we're like, oh,
Yeah.
look, somebody's on the same page. We're talking about the same thing. We're doing the same thing, So
Totally.
that's why I appreciate you having on this podcast, because like I was just telling you before we came on that it's kind of difficult today around this time to do any of that, It's
Yeah,
getting
there's a
more and more
hypersen-
turmoil.
There's a hypersensitivity, but it's still stuff that obviously needs to be spoken about intelligently, open-mindedly, obviously, with no, prejudgment per se, but just taking people as information, just information. And it may
Yeah,
not be
definitely.
information that aligns with your information, but just let it be heard, bro, because it's like we're all here.
We're all here.
That shit is killing rich people. It's killing poor people, black people, white people. This shit is real, and it's crazy, and we all just got to at some point come out of it like better. We can't be worse.
Yeah, we can't be worse.
No.
No, you know what? Every time, like, what did they say? Like before before the storm. I don't know, but like basically like
darkness before the storm clears.
Stuff happens. You know, when the worst happens, it just means that there's just a potential for us to be in a better place.
Yeah, it could be a door
out of this. Yeah,
it could be a door.
Or it could be something not good.
There is that. I mean, again, that's life, though. I mean, if you go at life approaching it in the sense of, fuck, if I do this fearful thing may come true, you're never going to move. Like, you're stuck in that quicksand, like, fuck, and you got to keep going and say, something may come bad of this, and when it doesn't, you're like, oh, okay, that was cool. Let me try that again. And keep doing it until something might happen.
For me, you know, like, I was stuck in this project building this bike shop, and, you know, that took, like, a lot of, like, effort, so I had to kind of, like, focus in on that, make sure that happened, make sure that it went the way I wanted to, make sure that that's in a good spot, right? So now that that's been, like, taken care of, I feel like I can focus now on other things, like this podcast and stuff like this, you know, so we can bring back a lot of things that we like to do, not just to eat and breathe, like you said, but to feed our souls, right? Like we want something to give to people. We want to feed off of people. We want to feed people.
That's what we are. Innately, that's what we are. None of us are here without, you know, being cooperative at our core, not competitive at our core. Competitive comes in with the survival of the fittest, and whatever the strongest animal in the room is wins. But we're more cooperative beings, I feel, than we are competitive beings.
Absolutely. Yeah, we are hierarchical in a sense, kind of like monkeys.
Sure.
But at the same time, we're like wolves in the way that we hunt in packs, you know, and we coordinate. So we're a little bit of both of those things.
And the human aspect is supposed to be what tempers.
Exactly.
It's supposed to be the middle one, the thing that kind of uses one for when it needs to and uses the other for when it needs to, but not letting one go crazy and the other go crazy.
Exactly.
Balance, like we said.
And exactly. So I wish we would stop doing all this swinging back and forth between two extremes.
Right.
And I wish we kind of just hung out in the middle. Like, when is that pendulum going to just kind of like slow down? You know, what's going to be the thing that's going to cause more people to come into the middle as opposed to fly towards the extremes? You know what I mean? Like, that's my question. Like, what's the thing? Is it this? Is it just talking? Is it just chatting with people that we know, we want to hang out with? Is it talking with people we disagree with? Is it just this?
I think it's anything that has to do with this level of cooperation. This thing that I keep saying, that we are more inherent to be than competitive. Like, me and you are cooperating here to get this broadcast to people and just making it happen. So that kind of inherent thing that if we keep feeding that part of ourselves instead of the competitive part of ourselves, I think we will get to this place of like transcendence where we'll be ready maybe for that singularity point where we can merge with technology and become even more amazing than we are right now. Like, in a way where, like, we're downloading information instantly. We're able to know anything we want whenever we want, and we can live longer and shit we can't even fathom yet.
Yeah, stuff we cannot even fathom.
No,
we're correct, man.
Trying to survive now.
Hell yeah, man. Honestly, one of my favorite guests right here echoes the name.
Thank you, Occult.
Y'all check this dude out. We play some of his music, of course, not all of it.
No, it's good,
but you know, he's got so much more stuff for y'all to listen to, and hopefully, in the near future, we'll be able to work together on some kind of like event structures. When this whole thing, you know, if it doesn't, if we go into a dark winter, we go into a dark winter. But whenever it's possible for us to do shows and come back to interacting, you know, I'm definitely gonna keep you in mind.
Thank you, bro.
And see what we can do, what we could work with in the future. You know, later on I might do a separate series to this podcast, which is gonna be Real Vibes Live.
Okay.
Which is also on my YouTube. And then we'll probably do more like musical focused stuff, you know, and take the stream outside of the studio and take it to places, right? And then do live streams on location at certain shows. So a lot of my friends do shows in like South Central and like Compton and certain areas that don't really people like no one's shedding a light into those areas, you know. So I feel like we need to really check those places out, you know, and
let's
like
get it.
Yeah, so you know, if you want to roll through, we'll do some crazy stuff out there, you know.
Count me in, bro.
Yeah,
Count me in.
We've been here a little bit too long, but man, it was a pleasure, bro.
Thank you, man. Everybody stay tuned this week. I'm dropping a brand new video. The clips are on my IG already, and a new tape dropping very, very, very soon.
How soon? Like
maybe end of this week, maybe next week.
All right.
Yeah.
So let's expect
season
that.
3. Season 3. You got season 1 out, season 2 out, season 3 is coming.
We got that Amazon Prime season coming next.
He saw it. You haven't seen it yet, but he saw it.
Right, y'all. We're about to sign out.
Happy Sunday, man. Thank you.